Hey guys, this is Carrie, and in this video I'm going to be teaching you how to make a beat using code. So we're going to be making a sound effects beat, so I've shared this with you in advance so you can check out the beat by pressing the play button. Unfortunately, a lot of the sound effects that you hear through your headphones when you check this out in class won't be audible through the video, so I apologize for that, but I'll try to convey what's happening to the best of my ability. So in order to make a beat, I had to find some sound effects. So I found this really cool website called freesound.org. I made an account, which allowed me to download whatever sounds I wanted. So I found this user, JoeBro, who I ended up really liking on here. And for the sound effects, what I chose was simple sound effects that just kind of made one sound. So you can't hear it, but this is just a metal thump. And I found a couple of simple sounds that you can see by the sound wave that these are just very simple. This was like a laser. And then I used the download button to download them. So when I downloaded them, they had crazy file names. So I just changed the file names to simple stuff here. So they were in the .wav format or the .ogg format. And both of those are sound formats. The images here, I'll show you those in a second. That's just my game plan for the beats. All right, so I'm going to make the starter code for us on the video so you can see how to do this. The starter code is going to include all of the audio files, so you won't have to do this step. But I got each of these audio files from downloading them from freesound.org after making my account. And now that I had all 5 of them with nice usernames to add them to our site, I dragged them onto here, and now they're on our site. So this is our starter code, and you didn't have to do that because it's already there. If you want to check out the sounds, you click on them, and you just play them like that. That's a pretty cool sound. All right, so I'm going to start coding for the video now. So I'm going to fork this so that we all have the video, or we all have the starter code all set. So I'm going to name this beat video 2 because I took a second take on this video. All right, so now we're ready to program our HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. So for our HTML, what we're going to want to do is we're going to add those audio files from just being part of our website to actually being elements on the page that we can play and interact with. So let's make some audio elements. So I found the easiest way to do this is to just type audio here and then press enter, and it auto-generates the whole audio element for us. Our source for the audio file is going to be the name of the files. This is base.wav. So I'll do base.wav. And let me close down my sound test and then open this one here and then move this over so this is easier for us to see. So base.wav, and let's give this an ID of base so that we can easily access this audio file. All right, using some copy and paste, let's add the rest of our audio files. So here's a cool trick I haven't shown you before. In order to change 2 things at the same time, you can highlight one copy of base here. This is in my second line of code, line 11. And then if you press Command D, it will automatically give you the next one too. And the next sound is clap, so I'll just type clap, and you'll notice that it changes them simultaneously. Same thing here, highlight base, Command D. I don't know what this is on a Windows, but that's okay. It may be Control D, I'm not sure. I'll make this laser. The next one is metallic.wav. Highlight base, Command D, make it metallic. And then the last one here, I have to do a little more slowly. This is static.ogg, so I have to change this from base.wav to static.ogg and static. If you want to make sure that things are going well for you here, make sure that your sources and IDs agree for each of these. The only other element we're going to have on our page is a button, so we type in button, press enter, and that auto gives you the button element, and I'm going to make the text of the button say play. So now if I refresh this, we should have a button that says play that does absolutely nothing. In order to make it do something, and in order to work with those sounds, we need to transfer over to our JavaScript. So the first thing that we're going to do is just like we always do, select all of the elements on the page that we're going to interact with. So those are going to be the audio files and the button. So let's do the button first. To select the button, we're going to use the same thing that we always use, let button equal document.querySelector, and we'll select the, not capital here, lowercase button tag. This one didn't have an ID or a class, so we're going to use the element type to select this button. For our script.js file here now, to select the audios, we'll do them one at a time. We'll let base equal document.querySelector the base thing, and that was with ID base. So I'm using the hashtag in order to select the element on the page that has an ID of base. All right, I'm going to use some copy and paste and some Command D in order to quickly change things here. So base, we also want to do clap, highlight base here, highlight the whole word base here, Command D. We also want to do laser, and I'm just looking down here. We also want to do metallic. So Command D after highlighting selects both, and then base here, we also want to do that static. So static is the thing with ID of static. So now we've got all of our audio files selected. So what we're going to do next is we're going to make our beat. So the beat is only going to play when we click the play button. So, hey, clicking a button, we've programmed that a bunch of times before. That's going to be an event listener for the button. Make the button an event listener, a click event listener. So we're going to say take the button, add event listener, and I'm using the enter again to auto-complete that. You could also use the cheat sheet, set up parentheses. The first thing is the type of event, which is a click event. And then we put function here, and we set up the code block. And this code block, everything inside the curly parentheses, is going to run when we click the button. Now, this is actually a really incredible time for us to use our set interval loop. And the reason why is music is something that happens, it makes sounds repeatedly over time. So what we can do is we can create for our beats an infinite loop of sounds that just plays through. So in order to do that, let's see, I think the best way for us to do this is to think about, all right, when we play music, basically you could imagine that in the background of the music, kind of like when you tap your foot, there's a beat, right? Most music has it so that you can feel the groove and tap your foot. That's like kind of like you're counting the music. So what we're going to do here is we're going to let our beat count equal, let me just call this beat. Let beat equal 0 to start. And this kind of reminds me of those puzzle problems. What we're going to be doing each time when we click on this is we're going to be creating an interval loop that's going to increase the beat, and depending on what beat, play a sound. So let's make our interval. So we'll do a set interval here. And the way these work, right, is we have to create our function, code block, and then after the code block, but before the parenthesis at the end, we have to tell it to repeat every whatever of a second. So I'm going to start with every second. So this time we've got our beat, 1 beat per second. So I don't know, like, you can just imagine like a ticking clock. All right, so let's start off doing a console.log with the beats every second. All right, so I'm going to open up my page here. I'm going to go to View, Developer, JavaScript console. And now let's press play and let's see our beat. Let me refresh it. And this is something I noticed with this project is I had to refresh it a bunch of times. All right, here we go. We got our beat. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. But that's not going to be very easy for us to work with because it just keeps saying 0. And the beat's going to change every time this increments, right? So what we'll do is instead of console.logging the beat, well, we'll start by console.logging the beat. What we'll do is we'll do a beat equals beat plus 1. So every time we go through this loop, we're going to log the beat, and then we're going to go on to our next beat. So let me refresh my page here, and let's see what happens now. I'm going to refresh it again. I don't know why it's taking so long. Press play. And now we should see our beat actually count. So it's almost like a musician would count 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And you can see that it's kind of got that repetition where it's really happening on a consistent time frame. And that's going to make it feel like a beat, but that's also coming from the set interval, which is happening every second. If you want to speed the beat up, you can change this number to like repeating every quarter of a second, every 250 milliseconds, even faster, every 100 milliseconds. And if you want to make the beat really long and slow, then what you could do is you can make it like every 6,000 milliseconds, which would be every 6 seconds. I'm going to leave it at 1 second and then change it to the time here. All right. So the first thing that we're going to do is most sounds will have a background sound, or I shouldn't say most sounds. Many sounds will have a background sound that just kind of clicks through on every beat. So if you play like rock drums, you can think about the hi-hat. For club music, it might be like a clap sound effect or a bass sound effect that's like. I'm going to go with a clap sound effect that plays every beat. So you'll see that I tried to mark that with a C here, and using some color coding, that's going to be our clap. So it's just going to clap every beat. So in order to play a sound, we've learned that every time through this loop, we're going to play the clap sound. So we'll do a clap dot current time equals 0, and then a clap dot play. And these two lines combined should play the clap on every beat. So now something much more interesting is going to happen. We're going to clap, we're going to play the clap, we're going to log the beat number, and then we're going to go to the next beat. And this is going to happen every second. So let's refresh our page maybe a couple of times. I'll do a Command R, or double click the refresh. And now I'll press play, and I should hear a beat going. Da, 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 da. And it's like, you can hear it every second doing it. We're going to speed it up in a second. All right, so let me refresh this so that the beat's no longer playing. All right, next up, what we're going to do is we're going to figure out how to add these things on specific beats. So when I was thinking about this, a lot of Western music is built around multiples of 4. And if you know music theory, you can think about like 4 time signatures, or over 8 time signatures, or 16th notes. All of that stuff is divisible by 4. But if you don't know it, then what we're going to do is we're going to create just a group of 16 beats that repeats. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. But you'll notice that I actually just used the number 0 to 15 for these beats. It's still 16 beats. Each green thing is a beat. And then what's indicated here is what happens on that beat. So on the 0th beat, we're going to play clap and bass, then just the clap, then clap and metallic, then clap and laser. But we've got a bit of a problem, which is currently, when we count our beats go way past 15 here. So this is a really clever use of math, I think, actually. If we want to go from 0 to 15, what we can do is we can just count our beats, and then when we reach the 16th one or 17th one, we can use mod to go back around. So on beat 16, if we do 16 mod 16, the remainder is 0. Let's see. This is a song a student recommended, and this is my lesson, so let me just get rid of those things. If we use mod here, we can do 0 mod, or not 0, we can do beat mod 16. And let's say, for example, that our beat was, we're on the 18th beat. If we do mod 16, that's going to be, okay, well, when we divide by 16, we get 1, remainder 2. So the 18th beat really should be the same thing as the 2nd beat here. If we do like 32 mod 16, that's going to be 2, remainder 0. So we've gone back around to the beginning. So that'll be the start of our 2nd or 3rd measure through. So what this mod will let us do is it will let us just go from 0 to 15. Then when we reach 16, it will go back to 0, and then the remainders will go through these numbers again and again and again. So mod is going to be really useful here. So basically what we want to say is we want to play the bass on the 0th, 6th, and 10th beat. So to do that, what we're going to do is we'll say if the beat mod 16 is 0, that will mean that we're on a 16 sorry, 0, 16, 32, 48. We're on a multiple of 16, which should be the front of the measure again. Or the beat mod 16. It's always going to be mod 16 because our whole group is 16 notes, is equal to 6 or 10. So is equal to 6, or the beat mod 16 is equal to 10. And the reason why we chose 16 is a lot of Western music is built around 16th notes or 8th notes or quarter notes, things that are multiples of 4. So here on the 0th, 6th, and 10th beats out of 16, we're going to do this. We're going to play the bass sound. So bass.current_time is equal to 0, semicolon, and bass.play. And we're going to do well, let's just build that up actually. So let's hear what this sounds like with just the bass. And you'll also hear that the clap still happens every beat. Notice that the clap isn't an if one, and then the bass is going to play on these beats only. So let's hear it. I think I have to, all right, so the bass plays again on the 10th. I feel like it didn't play on the 6th, but let me see again. So the next time it hits, okay, 22 would be on the 6th. Yeah, so that works. So I'm actually going to speed it up now because this sounds very slow to me. So I did a calculation before. If I want it to be 600 claps per minute, then it wants to play every 0.1 seconds. The calculation that I did was 600 beats per 1 minute. And then I converted it to seconds. So I think it's every 0.1 seconds. So that would be every 100 milliseconds. So let me refresh my page a couple of times, and let's speed it up. I noticed that my beat is not playing every time I think it's supposed to play. I think it's completing the sound. That's frustrating. All right, well, let me build my beat back up here using kind of everything that I noticed, and we're kind of trying to encounter that problem later on. All right, so the next step here, we want to make our bass. Okay, that's one we did. We'll do our metallic on 2 and 14. So I'm going to grab this and I'm going to say copy and paste here. If the beat is on the second one or the 14th one, then we want to do a metallic dot play. And if we want, and I should tab this over. I'm going to paste it again, and I'm going to do the laser on 4 and 8 and 12. So if the beat is 4, 8, or 12 out of 16, then we want to play the laser. Okay, let's hear our sound effect here. I accidentally closed down my page, so I'm going to reopen it here. I'll open up the console. Something is happening with my bass where it's like not playing the bass like it should. All right, I'll get to that in a second, I guess. I'm still trying to figure that out, but I hear the laser repeating. And the metallic repeating. Okay, I think I can figure this out. All right, and then next up, we'll have the static.ogg sound, and that's supposed to play every 32 beats. So for this one, it's going to be every 2 measures, thinking about it musically. So then we'll say if the beat mod 32 is equal to 0, so it's every 32 beats. Then we'll do a static dot. Oh, here's why. Oh my god, it's not equals equals to 0, it's equals 0 for this. Oh my gosh, okay. All right, now it should play every time. Okay, man, do I feel stupid. Okay, so now it should play by resetting the sounds. I apologize, guys. All right, so here we go. If you made that change much earlier here with the current times, it sounds much more like a beat. All right, but now it's like a pretty fire beat. So let me just do something really quick, and you don't have to do this part. Let me just, ooh, I copied and pasted this too, but didn't change it. Let me delete that. So we've got the bass part, the metallic, the laser, the static, and the clap. All right. Let me just stop this. It's hard to focus with that. All right, so here we go. What we want to do here is, let me just test to make sure that the bass works. And this is what you should have been hearing before. So here we go. I'll comment this out. And then I'll press replay here. And what you should hear now on doom, 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 doom. And you hear the beat repeating on those 0, 6, and 16, and 10. All right, cool. I'm going to put the rest of the beat back. And you'll have the rest of the period to experiment with making different sound effects. I would recommend that you go over here and you download some new sounds. Remember that you also have the free game art, open game art website available. And if you do browse for music or sound effects, you can find a lot of cool video game type sound effects that might be fun to include as sounds. Or you can use this free sound website, but you'll have to register and make a login to download new ones. All right, this is pretty sick, and I'll stop here. Bye, guys.